Hey everyone, this episode of Travel Voice Notes is on the Portuguese beach town of Carvoeiro. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, so if anyone Portuguese listens to this and is able to correct my pronunciation, I would absolutely love that. Please send me a voice note. So Luke and I went to Carvoeiro a few weeks ago to do an assignment for Jet2. I'm not promoting them on this podcast, just giving you a bit of context. And we were able to pick a place that we wanted to go in the Algarve, anywhere that Jet2 had some accommodation that we could review as part of our blog post on the area. So I looked for a small town, was looking for something that was quite quaint, as authentically Portuguese as possible, and that had retained some of that look and feel to it. And I have to say, I was a little disappointed that Carvoeiro was described online as a small fishing village, but right now, when we visited this year, it was very much a resort town and not by any means comparable to places like Albufeira or probably Lagos, which is a much sort of larger scale of resort town. This was a small place and it was very quaint and cute, but it was also very much a touristic area with, I would say, more British people than local Portuguese people, certainly in that main part of the beach town, though I'm sure that the surrounding area has many Portuguese people living there. But one of the other reasons that we picked out Carvoeiro was because we wanted somewhere that would be both relaxing and active, and it was 100% definitely that. So if you're an active traveler and you love walking, kayaking, being in the outdoors, swimming, then this is a great place to be because the Algarve, and especially this area, is known as the Golden Coast because the rock formations along the coastline are a really beautiful golden colour. And you can walk along the whole rocky outcrops. There's sections of the coastline that have been made accessible, so you can actually climb around in the rocks and look at like the rock formations are fantastic. They're really cool. I've not seen anything like them really because they have these sort of strange crater shapes, I guess, where they've been weathered away in certain areas. And against the aquamarine colour of the Atlantic Ocean, it is super beautiful to walk along the coast, and even more beautiful to go out kayaking, where you can kayak into a couple of the different caves and coves. You can also take a boat out, but if you do take a boat, you have to be aware that you can't get out of the boat. One of the big things to do in the area is to see the Benagil caves, which are really cool, a really impressive cave formation with a little beach inside, though it does get really busy with kayakers. But if you're in a boat, you can't get off inside the caves, whereas if you kayak in, you definitely can. You also kayak into much smaller caves of varying sort of size and formations. So that in itself is really cool. The water, like all of Portugal, is of course pretty cold most of the time, but we did swim a little bit when we were there. We went swimming out when we were kayaking, which was great. There's some lovely beaches in the area as well. I would say more like smaller sandy coves. Don't go to this area of the Algarve expecting, massive expanses of beach because you can find that further down. Along the coastline in Alvor. They have a nature reserve area that has really beautiful, pristine, long, lengthy sandy beach as far as the eye can see. But Carvoeiro has a much sort of smaller cove. It's really a lot safer, I would say, if you have children or if you just want a small patch of beach with lots of amenities nearby, then this is definitely the place for that. You'll definitely be able to get your ice cream, your beer, your snacks, anything like that that you ideally would like to have. The rest of the town, as I mentioned earlier, it's pretty touristic, and Luke and I were a little disappointed to see that there wasn't so many authentic Portuguese places in the area because it really has been built up around tourism and to cater for the British taste, I would say, out of everything here. That said, there were a couple of really good places there. there's this cute little cafe called Earth Shop and Cafe, which is one of the only places we came across in the Algarve that was vegan friendly and also did like oat milk lattes, and they were really good, really frothy. So if you're in the area, definitely check that out. And they stock really beautiful local ceramics that were in cork holders as well. So definitely worth a browse. We also ate at a really fantastic fresh Italian pasta place called Villa Medici, which I didn't expect at all because from the outside it looks so unassuming. But as soon as you walk inside, it's an absolute TARDIS. On the front balcony area, there's just a couple of tables, and we really didn't think it was much bigger than that. And inside, it expands out to have a whole back courtyard with multiple inside rooms as well. And when we went in June, we were like super taken aback that almost all of the tables were full. So I think we were quite lucky to get a seat in the end. And they had open kitchen with all of these chefs making fresh pasta, cooking up fresh sauces, and it was really cracking. So if you're a lover of Italian food and you're in this area, then definitely do check that out as well. In terms of how accessible Carvoeiro is, if you're coming in from Faro Airport, then it's going to be super accessible. You can get there in about 45 minutes if you've got a direct transfer. And there's a lot of buses that do stop in the area, though I would say if it's late on in the evening, probably better just to get a taxi. The only other thing to say, so when we visited, which was June 2023, the area's been having a seaweed problem for a couple of years. So though the beaches are really nice, they do have a big mountain of seaweed accumulating. This is because there's like new invasive species in the area that they've not actually been able to clear, and it does block the access to the water. If you check out my blog post on Carvoeiro, you'll see a couple of pictures on this. But, on the plus side, the town itself, beautiful painted whitewashed buildings, and it's got a really pretty look to it. So, yeah, I'd love to hear your experiences if you do decide to go there. Thank you for listening to this episode of Travel Voice Notes. It was great to get to share my recent trip with you. I would love to have a voice note back, which you can do via the podcast page on Spotify. Voice notes aren't meant to be a one-way conversation, so if you have any thoughts, questions, opinions, ideas you'd like to share with me, then please do. Or you can always send me an email or a social media message through my website and social channels. Thank you for listening again. And if you haven't already, please make sure you're subscribed to this podcast so that you can get all the new episodes as they come out.